Hello, Ken. How are you this fabulous evening?
Well, I'm particularly good this fabulous evening because I've got a beautiful bottle of champagne here to enjoy while we talk.
What is the celebration all about, Ken? Why are we celebrating something?
The celebration, Dan, is about this being our 50th, 50th episode.
Congratulations.
Oh, yes.
So, as a result, we are first going to do our toast and then we're going to talk about our topic. So, why don't you pop the top on that?
I'm going to pop the top on this. It is a lovely non-vintage champagne for people who are interested. Primarily Pinot Noir, but also Pinot Meunier and Chardonnay.
Go ahead and virtually pour it across the universe over to my.
There we go. Dan's got his own bottle there, which is lovely as well, and beautiful crystal glass.
I think this is for my wedding, actually.
I feel honored that you would take your wedding glass out for this moment in time.
It's actually not the exact one because the one we actually have from our wedding has our names on it, but this is from the wedding. Like other people used these, or they maybe someone gave us as a wedding present. I don't know.
You're incredibly sentimental.
I had to dig through to find it. I need to pour more.
Yeah, you need to get it about 3/4 is nice.
Let's see.
And then to our 50th episode and to our faithful listeners, we appreciate every one of you.
Okay, let's cheers it. Ready?
Okay. Clink.
Awesome. I'm gonna make a toast to our topic tonight, which is that we've been in it for the long haul. Just last week, actually this past week, I sent you a text celebrating 2 years since the date that we actually originally met. It was December 9th of 2019. So before the whole world fell apart, we met. High hopes for what could come of what we were working on at the time. And we just made an adjustment and we stuck with it for the long haul. And we've arrived now 2 years later and 50 episodes later of our podcast. So a toast to you for sticking with this for 2 years and for our podcast for over a year and 50 episodes. Thank you, Ken. To you.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for being a great partner with me in this. We should do this all the time. This is a lovely way to end a weekend.
It just turns into a virtual happy hour every week.
Exactly. Which everyone can relate to.
We'll have to let our listeners decide if we're more coherent or more babbling about nothing as we speak. So
I think that's great.
Tonight we are talking about the long haul. Ken, what is this all about?
So I think this was a perfect way to start, not just because champagne is delicious and I love drinking it, but I think it's really great to acknowledge that if you stick to something and if you set a goal, and we had actually committed this to paper, it's like, here's what we want to have before a year is out. We want to have X amount of episodes done, and we accomplished that. And I think this applies to absolutely everything in life. I was thinking about this today, that one of the things that I've worked on really hard over many, many, many years, and I'm by no means there, but I'm better at it. And that's not letting day-to-day events dictate my happiness. Like, I'm in life for the long haul. I'm in this life to be happy, to be fulfilled, to add value to other people, to contribute, to use the gifts that I feel God has given me to help other people enrich their lives. This is like a long haul event. And I think it's challenging when we live in a society that has such a tiny, tiny, tiny attention span that we can go from ecstatic to completely depressed in the course of a few minutes, just by something we hear on the news or something a friend tells us, or getting a rejection, you didn't book a job, or something didn't go right at work. We allow ourselves to be kind of tossed about on the sea. And to me, the long haul is about having a vision for the future that extends well beyond the next week or month or even year, but a vision that really carries you through, and that you know along the way there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but the only thing that matters is that you carry on, is that you keep moving forward, that you keep taking inspired action. And that's what we did. We just kept taking inspired action. This podcast is evidence of that. And as we've said many times, um, while we would love this to be a great financial success one day, the reason we're in this is primarily twofold. One, it gives us practice talking about business and life, about the things that we do. It makes us more fluid when we talk to other people about this work. And the second thing is we genuinely enjoy each other's company. This gives us a chance as friends to spend time with each other once a week. And that to me is pretty priceless. So that's what the long haul is to me. Keep a vision and don't be dissuaded by the lows, and don't be fooled by the highs. There's going to be a mix of both of them all the time. The important thing is to keep the vision and to keep taking inspired action as you move forward.
We did make a commitment, and it was, believe at the start of 2021, or at least we made a goal or target, something we were going to do. And we said, let's have 50 episodes done by the end of 2021. And we are approaching the end of 2021 and we are hitting number 50, which is an awesome accomplishment. I want to challenge us even further though, because it's very difficult to hit 50 in a calendar year. So my challenge goal is by the start of 2023. So by the completion of 2022, I want to have achieved episode number 100, which will require that we're traveling. Both of us travel for work and for pleasure. And that means that we don't necessarily have to do it on our travels, but that means we have to double up or even triple up potentially on weeks to work around our travels and still make this work. So are you willing to take on that challenge? You're willing to take on a challenge that by the completion of 2022, we will have recorded and released episode number 100. What do you think, Ken?
Challenge accepted, Daniel.
Awesome. Thank you. So that to me is what the long haul is all about. It is looking at how far you've come and then asking yourself, do I want to go even further? Right. And I think this reminds me of the commonly used, it's probably now a cliche or a motivational poster. It's all about the journey, not about the destination. And that, a phrase that I hate, but it's commonly said to me, is easier said than done, right? Like it's easy to say it's all about the journey, but most of us fall into what I call short-term thinking. And it's very easy to fall into short-term thinking. In fact, I've been trained in my graduate program and in my past job as a polygraph examiner to use the skills that they taught me to get people into short-term thinking. Because what would be the value of that? The value of that is when somebody's only thinking about a narrow window of time, then they're willing to tell you stuff because they're only trying to get past that moment in time. For example, if I can let somebody focus on just leaving the room that they're in with me, then they're more likely to tell me something if their understanding is, wait, so I tell you this and then I can leave the room? Yes, very short-term window of thinking. They're just thinking about this moment in time. They're not remembering or thinking past this, leaving the room. Where do they go from here? So in some cases, that meant they went to jail, right? Or something even worse. But my job was to get them to think in short-term window. And I think that is the big challenge of people in today's society. Is easier said than done because we all default to this caveman brain thinking of what is just the short term, what is the narrow window I have in front of me. It's that caveman example I always give. If he's going to leave his cave, he needs to sharpen his spear and be ready to face some adversary or something that he could face. He's only thinking about that. He's not thinking, okay, what if nothing's there? And then where do I go from here? And then what, there's not this like long-term big picture. There's just, let me survive the moment. Like, let me get past this. And then I'll kind of figure out where to go from there. So I think the antidote or the answer to getting past short-term thinking is just to always ask yourself, like, what is my target? Like the target I just laid out for Ken and I is 50 episodes in 2022. Can we record and produce 50 more? And once we know that target, then we have this journey thinking. We get to then navigate around that. Like I just mentioned how we need to. We know we're both going to be traveling for probably call it a month total, at least in 2022. And they might not be overlapping. So that means we need to come up with 8 weeks of non recorded time and then make up those dates within. But without a target, without the long haul thinking of like, how are we going to get through 50? And we just fall into, hey, let's just do one a week, which is great. It's so easy to find yourself way off track, right? So I think the answer is to have this journey thinking, the long haul thoughts is you got to first start out with like, where am I heading? What's my destination? What's my target? What's my goal? I like to use future reality. And once you know that, then you can just navigate in the short term, knowing whether you're on path, whether you're headed in the direction of getting accomplished what you set out to accomplish.
Yeah, I think about that notion of being called forward, like the journey, having the journey actually call to you, not so much the destination, but the journey calls itself. And I've been reflecting on my dad's life recently. He turned 96 just a few days after Thanksgiving. And every year there is always something that he has out in front of him that calls him into the future. There's something every day that calls him. He has literally goals lined up that reflect the day's activities, the month's goals. For him now, it's like the number of books he wants to read, the number of topics that are new to him that he wants to understand. And for the longest time, it was travel. And we would start sometimes a year and a half, 2 years out, planning a big trip with him. We took him to Paris for his 90th birthday. We took him to the south of France so he could see where his parents left Europe for the United States in about 1917. And we planned those things months out. And the great thing was it gave him something to look forward to. No matter what the day's events were, it gave him something to think about out in the future, something to be excited about, something to look forward to. And even afterwards, it gave him something to reflect on and build on for the next trip. The journeys are a bit shorter now, but they're still there. Going over to visit somebody, being able to even do simple things like just walk around the yard and move about. It doesn't matter the scope or scale of what that goal is or that future is. It simply matters that you have one. Because when that disappears, all you're left with is this moment. And we talk about living in the now, and that's 100% still accurate. But we've got to have something that calls us into the future as we live in the present. And he's been just a shining example for me of being able to do both, being fully present here and now, and at the same time, always having something out in front, which he thinks about. And sometimes it's not even something that he's going to do. It's maybe when I'm going to come visit next, or when he's going to get a visit from his pastor. Or in this case, he just found out that my niece is pregnant, and in June, she's going to have his first great-grandchild. That's a great thing for him to look forward to. It's a journey now that he's able to make with her because she just lives a few miles away from him. And it's calling him into a future. He is at 96, truly in this for the long haul.
So I constantly think about the things that I monitor that can easily get me into short-term thinking. For example, I weigh myself every single day, with some exceptions if I'm traveling and I don't have access to a scale. I monitor everything on a watch that's a smart watch that I'm able to monitor sleep and activity and all that stuff. So I know on a daily basis exactly how many steps I've taken and how much I slept and all those statistics, right? I know exactly what I weigh. And I oftentimes have this discussion with people that I coach is your goal to obtain the goal or to sustain the thing, right? Because while it's still a struggle and it still takes effort and work and discipline to obtain anything, whether that's like target weight or obtain a date with the person you're interested in, or whatever that case may be, obtain the job that you've always wanted. the real thing is really that long haul journey thinking, right? Which is, you don't just want to obtain a date, you want to sustain a relationship, right? You don't just want to obtain a job, you want to sustain a career, right? We just don't want to obtain a weight for a moment in time. I can tell you 1,000 tricks to get to the exact weight you want because I've done them all, right? Like I set a thing, I'll buy this date, I'm going to hit this weight, and I can do it. And I've done it. I feel like every single time I've set it out by a date, I always hit it. But I will tell you, I often don't sustain that weight because it's so easy to fall into that short-term thoughts of, I need to do what it takes to get there. But I need to enter, and I'm constantly evolving and becoming better at thinking, no, it's not about just that. I don't want to just obtain anything. I want a life that's sustainable, that I can feel happy about, that I can look at all these categories or areas of my life and go, not only did I get it, but I sustained it. Like, this is me. Whatever identity I have established, it's because of these different categories. And it's not just I had it for a second or a moment or a short, brief thing, but I had it for the long haul. And then I can really look back and say, no, that's me. That was my job. That was my relationship. That was my health. Whatever that category is, I can feel that that's a true sense of who I am because I earned it and I deserved it and I sustained it. So again, constantly ask yourself, do you want to just obtain or do you want to sustain?
Something that might be useful for people who are listening that I've discovered in myself, and Dan, that weight example is like a perfect one. I've gone through that myself too. I get in great shape, I get to an ideal weight, ideal size, and then I'm there, and it's like, now what? And the goal of maintenance, the goal of sustaining what I've done doesn't feel as exciting as the goal of like losing things and, you know, being able to buy smaller waist size jeans and that kind of stuff. But one of the things I discovered was that the reason that I allowed myself to maybe fall a bit out of shape again was then I could be the hero and I could swoop in and look what I did. And it gave me bragging rights and it gave me kind of an adrenaline rush. And I've seen that happen in the way that I manage time from time to time. Sometimes I'll purposefully wait until the last minute so I can produce something monumental and feel like a hero. It's like, see what I did, even if I'm only saying it to myself. And I would urge people just to take a look at that sort of hero complex, that savior complex that oftentimes comes into play when you've set a goal, you achieve it, and then instead of sustaining it, you allow yourself to fall back to where you were so you can do it again. Sometimes people are addicted to adrenaline and like that rush. And if that's the case, identify it and find a different way to get that kind of a rush, maybe through physical exercise or some other thing that's going to give it to you. But just be aware that that's something that could be at play that's standing in the way of this long haul thinking that we've been talking about.
And to wrap this up, I'm going to make a request to anybody listening right now. Please stick with us for the long haul. I've just told you where we're headed. We're headed for 50 more episodes in 2022. So we're just on episode 50. We're halfway to the journey, the long haul thinking that we have. And I'm quite certain that we'll just continue from there. We're going to go even further. So please, if you like any piece of this content, if you just like our personalities, if you're watching the video and you just like the way we look, which is also very possible, then stick with us for the long haul. Continue on this journey along with us and see how we evolve, because hopefully we get better and better. And if we're not, I don't know how, but reach out to us, send us a comment, and let us know what we need to do to improve, because we are focused on this long haul thinking of consistent and never ending improvement to be the best versions of ourselves and to provide the most value to you in this great podcast.